The strongest human emotion is fear. It's the essence of any good thriller that, for a while, you believe in the Boogeyman. Huh? Why can't these 7 films be just as good as that quote from John Carpenter? Welcome to Gear Up Productions. I'm Nicholas C. Gear, and today we're ranking some Boogeyman films. Essentially, we have like 2 trilogies, one by Uwe Lamel in the 80s, and the other from the 2000s, produced by Sam Raimi, and the recent Stephen King adaptation that came out a couple of years ago. In total, we have 7 films that don't really have anything to do with each other than the fact that they're all called Boogeyman. The reason why I've been wanting to do this for a while, and this is a video I've had in mind way back when, is because I'm specifically interested in the American folktale that we have of the Boogeyman, that scary myth, that legend, and some of these movies are just kind of a horror guilty pleasure, for me specifically. Most of these are just like kind of the typical bad horror movie that's simple and forgettable, but I've always been intrigued by the tale of the Boogeyman itself and seeing where these films can go and what kind of cool and interesting things they can get up to. So with that being said, let's get straight into them. In last place is 1994's Return of Boogeyman, and well, really, I don't have much to say because there's not really much of a film here to begin with. The entire film is made up of pure stock footage from the 1998 or 1980s Boogeyman film, with like the most direct-to-video footage shot and edited around to make like a new movie. Story-wise, we follow like a young woman in a therapy session trying to use her abilities to stop the Boogeyman from killing her and everyone in the original movie. At least that's what I could mostly make out from how terrible this looks and sounds. You literally have characters who will talk to each other without their mouths moving.
Sarah, you must use your mind powers to see into the future. Use them, control them, bring it to life. Stop the Boogeyman. Stop him now.
It's only 75 minutes long, but it feels infinite. It's often considered the 3rd film in the Uwe Lamel's trilogy of Boogeyman films, but I can't find his name anywhere on this project. The only info that I actually could find is that this film is the first, or one of the first, commercially produced DVDs in America. Even that seems like an absolute lie, just to give this movie some kind of credit. Overall, this movie sucks. Don't search it up. Don't watch it. Do not go out and find it. Moving on. In 6th place, we have Boogeyman III 2008, the 3rd film in a trilogy that tries to capitalize on that subgroup of supernatural ghost horror films from Japan. The story follows like a bunch of random college students just being picked off one by one by the Boogeyman, and quite honestly, there's not really a lot to say about this film because it completely loses sight about what made like the first 2 films watchable in place of like cheap CGI gore and random jump scares. It does kind of continue this idea of like the Boogeyman only has the power that you give him and that makes him grow and kill more people as you spread his name more. There really isn't much to say to a film that is supposed to be the conclusion to this trilogy, but like it just does its own thing with insufferable characters and just horrible CGI. Fun fact, the main lead of this film is actually played by Jin, the Pink Ranger from Power Rangers Time Force, so yeah. In 5th place, I have Boogeyman II 1983, Uwe Lamel's 2nd film in his trilogy of Boogeyman films. Unlike the 3rd film, this one actually is a bit of a follow-up to his 1980 film. Sadly, similar to the 3rd film, it uses a lot of stock footage. We follow the final girl from the last film as she's in Hollywood telling her story about what happened to a group of filmmakers that worked on this film and the previous film. No, the film is not meta, it's just so cheap that the crew has to be used as cast. From what I could find, Lamel was actually offered sort of a mid-budget from a studio to make a sequel, but he turned it down for full creative control. The first half of this film is basically just a retelling, as that's what the main character is doing, and the other half is actually a pretty fun and interesting slasher where the Boogeyman possesses a butler. In full honesty, once you get past the recap, it does some fun, cool, creepy, interesting things, and some decent kills for how low budget the film is. If you like the first film and you want it more, then definitely skip the second half and just have fun with whatever they're doing at the end of the movie. I do like this one a bit more than the previous two, simply because it does have that bit of connecting tissue to a previous film. In fourth place, we have the 2005 Sam Raimi produced Boogey Man, an early attempt at making elevated horror. The story follows a young man as he goes back to his childhood home after his mother has passed away in order to face his fears of the boogeyman who killed his father. I call this an early attempt at elevated horror because you basically get like a straightforward horror movie with all these cool, interesting shots and creepy moments and this like ooey spookiness to the boogeyman mythos. But it's honestly kind of boring. You know, like how some of the elevated horror movies are just slow moving until boom, something happens. That's kind of what this is. It's a guy walking around his creepy childhood home, meeting old friends, meeting weird, creepy children, and then boogeyman stuff happens. There's an interesting idea, I think, with the way the closets work as like portals and doorways to like what the boogeyman has done and what he's up to. But it's really just a plot device to get from one place to the other, like literally. It's creative, it has a little fun with the theme about fear and trauma controlling you and how you literally have to destroy your demons from within in order to move on in life. And the director is trying to do some cool stuff and put a little spin on it. Overall, I honestly just can't remember much about the film other than the main character, the creepy house, and the boogeyman itself. Everything else I just can't remember at all. It is the film that did spark my interest for boogeyman related content, so it's got that going for it. Cracking into the top 3 is Boogeyman II, 2007, the direct-to-video slasher sequel to Boogeyman. This film for me I think represents a step forward in the right direction. The story is about a woman and her brother who witness their parents' murder by the Boogeyman, and they seek help in a therapy home with other people who have like extreme phobias. This essentially makes the film I think stand out among the rest. It's simple yet realistic slasher film that actually has something to say about fear and how we let it control us. It also helps that Tobin Bell took time away from Saw 4 to come help out on this project. The theme of the movie matches what are able to get done budget-wise, and this film has a lot of carnage candy. If you're here for just the kills, they do some stuff that I'm like, how did you do that? I do also want to note that the film actually has a lot of TNA, but like it's weirdly factored into the plot. I don't know how much I can say on here, but there's one character who has like body images issues, and when you watch the scenes, you're kind of like, ooh, no, skip. And then there's one scene that's like, I want to say love-making scene, but it's also edited into like one of the most nastiest kills in the film, and it's just kind of ugh. It just makes you feel disgusting. For what I think they're able to get down story and theme wise, for how watchable it is in that way, I can get past some of that other stuff, but they could have done a little better in the execution. Our runner-up is Uwe Lammel's 1980s The Boogeyman, a film that's so iconic its successors make you watch it over and over again. But with that being said, the story follows a brother-sister duo who were abused and one night ended their abuser, which created the Boogeyman, after their mother's death is revealed and some hauntings and killings start to happen from their trauma. I think in order to understand this film, you really have to know who Uwe Lammel is. And well, he was a German artist and filmmaker from the 70s and the 80s who worked all the way up till his death in 2017. This film being his most popular one, at least one that stuck out to people. And that's basically what it is. It's a creative, art-filled film with these cool, awesome ideas and moments that are like loosely tied together with a small story about unbroken trauma and abuse. And it's also like a ripoff of Halloween, The Exorcist, and Amityville Horror all wrapped up into one. It's cheaply made and nothing really makes sense or connects. Basically, you have like an invisible force going around and killing people wherever the piece of the mirror that traps the boogeyman is latched onto someone. It's an interesting idea. I think it could be a great horror movie one day if anyone wants to reapproach it. The film is just really cheap, you know? And maybe that's why this film has such a deep cult following that I see nowadays. People are really starting to open up and review this movie and say, hey, you remember that Boogeyman movie? Yeah, that one from the 80s? Is so weird, such a movie of its time and everything. But it's also clear that Uwe was trying to make his best horror passion project, and for what it's worth, I definitely think this is at least any horror fan's one-time viewing. You gotta go watch this one, at least one time. At number 1 is the most recent, the Stephen King adaptation, The Boogeyman 2003, which basically follows a family as they're dealing with the death of their mother/wife as the Boogeyman comes to feed on both their fears and them. The film is as straightforward as it sounds. It's a modern day creature feature with the Boogeyman being as truly scary as he's ever been. The film does suffer from some stupid character moments and an average amount of jump scares. Where I think this movie shines is the monster itself. He truly has done some of the most creepiest things in this film, and he really kind of stands out as like this creature that take you away and feed on your fears. Whereas so many films on this list I think can't even be considered a full feature film, this actually feels like it's trying to do the best that it can with the source material that it's been given. The Boogeyman is downright creepy, has some solid scares, some good moments, and kind of feels like a prototype to that creature from Smile. Now, obviously, there is kind of this overhanging plot of if you're afraid of the dark, hey, whip out your phone. They got built-in flashlights. If you can suspend your disbelief for a bit, it is a decent film with okay characters, an awesome monster to dine, and it does have a bit of problem connecting the family's themes and the creature itself, but for the most part, it comes in at number 1. Thank you so much for checking this video out. This has been a ranking that I've been wanting to do in the long run for so long, about 4 years now. Is one that I had as an idea back in college. Let me know down in the comments which one of these is your favorite Boogeyman movie, or if you've even seen any of these. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, keep up with all the great news coming out from Gear Up Productions. And well, with that being said, gear up and watch out for the Boogeyman.